Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports with Betz. I'm your host, Betz. You can see here I've got my co-host, Zach Fisher. I'm going to introduce him in a second here. We got a lot of ground to cover in the sports world. It has been a crazy, crazy week. So much is going on. We're like in the honeymoon phase with football, it feels like right now. So we got a lot to talk about. Before we get into that, friendly reminder, start the show the same way every week where we're growing the audience. I'm meeting people online that I've never met before. I'm getting great reviews and comments. Thank you guys so much for doing that. If you get any value, if we make you laugh, if you learn something, if we give you a reason to tune back in, please share the show, post it on your Instagram story, send it to your father-in-law, whoever. Whoever's a fan of football, they're going to want to listen to this show. So thank you guys for doing that up to this point. It means a lot. I'm growing everything organically. It's been fun. Want to keep doing it. So, all right. So I got a very, very special guest here next to me, my man, Zach Fisher, one of my best friends. He and I worked together, business partners for a while. And yeah, man, Zach is a guy who he knows ball. He loves ball. He's probably going to tell you about that big trophy over his right shoulder there. Yeah, that guy right there. I'll let Zach talk about that. But yeah, first and only ever guest on Sports with Betz, and wouldn't want it to be anybody else. So Zach, how you feeling, baby?
I'm good, dude. Happy to be here. Happy to get the invite. Long time listener, first time contributor,
dude.
Appreciate that. Appreciate all the kind words. Little backstory about me. Grew up in Minnesota, so I was cursed, if you will, with being a Minnesota sports fan. I don't think anybody chooses to be a Minnesota sports fan. And if they do, that's the bad choice because it's been 37 years of hell almost. Well, we had the 91 Twins. So 91 Twins in my lifetime, there is a championship. But other than that, big into football, big into baseball, follow golf, follow hockey, basketball a little bit here and there, but football and baseball are kind of my bread and butter, and that's what I follow the most. So yeah, that's about all I got. And hopefully I can provide some insight and some laughs and some entertainment to the show, because it's been lacking a little bit.
That's right. We need some fresh energy. I love it, man. And yeah, Zach, so you humbly forgot to talk about that massive trophy behind you. And so Zach and I are, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I'm in 3 fantasy football leagues, and he and I are in the league together with the largest buy-in. So Zach is a richer man than he was before the football season for winning that league, and he's got himself a big old fat trophy. I always say too, like we actually had the draft at Zach's house in the basement in that bar that you're looking at there. And Zach's he's always the guru. He's got sheets printed off. He's always like my little scout. I think like 2 years ago, I didn't prep anything, didn't prepare anything, and Zach had like extra sheets going. So Fish he's the master. He's the fantasy football master this year.
So a little bit like before Andy Reid went to the Chiefs and started winning Super Bowls, when he was with Philadelphia, he was considered the best coach to never win.
Yes.
And that's what I compared my fantasy football managerial skills to, was old Andy Reid before he started winning Super Bowls. I was always making the playoffs, always putting up a good team, never won one. This past year, finally got that monkey off my back. It's been a long time coming, and thank you for the money.
You got it. You earned it. That's such a good analogy. I'm trying to think of what my analogy would be. Maybe like, I don't even know. Like I won early on, and there's not even really a comparison like that. Like you nailed yours on the head. Like I think I got first year in the league, I was last place, and then I won it. So you're going to be able to have your name engraved on that trophy next to mine. And then I got last place again. And then this year I was the highest scoring team in the league and missed the playoffs somehow. So we got to fix that.
I tried for you. I
You
tried
did.
advocating.
And we got into an argument like last year about changing the system and making points more important than wins and losses. And I was like the number one voice against it, and now it bit me in the ass. So here we go. But all right,
So if anybody's got any suggestions out there about playoff format for your fantasy football leagues, drop them in the comments.
please, dear
We're
God,
open.
yes. All right. Yeah, the only reason why you won is because I got screwed and my team wasn't in the playoffs. So in any
Well,
event, all
that's
right.
and then by my own standard, what I proposed, I wouldn't have made the playoffs in that format.
Wild. That's some
Wow.
fast acting. That's some karma there or something. But going from fantasy football to real football here, there's a lot to talk about. So let's start as I've got my NFL logo hat here. Start in the NFL. We have some conclusions and some answers to the coaching carousel. That's kind of what I focused on last week. I'm going to go over some of the big ones. I've got my opinions, and something that I didn't really mention in the beginning too, that's going to be really awesome about this duo of me and Fish here is we don't have any sports teams in common. So like I think we'll be able to balance and have a couple of different ideas. And we didn't even discuss our opinions about this before the show. So I'll be curious to see how that shakes out. But coaches that got hired in the past week since my last recording, you had John Harbaugh to the Giants was probably the biggest one. You've got Stefanski to the Falcons, uh, Jeff Hafley to the Dolphins, big splash, Robert Saleh to the Titans. And then literally within the last hour, this just dropped. Jesse Minter, Chargers defensive coordinator, hired to the Ravens. Let's start there because Jesse Minter, I think throughout this coaching circus has been one of the more interesting names. For people who don't know, he was Harbaugh's guy in Michigan. He was his defensive coach in Michigan, followed him to the Chargers, and did a pretty good job with the Chargers. Well, something I've noticed just with me spending hours and hours on Twitter is anytime there were rumors about Jesse Minter going anywhere, Chargers fans are like freaking out. They're like, don't take our guy, leave him alone. We want Jesse. Like Chargers fans didn't want to see him go. At least that's what I've seen online. I think it's a massive step to go from defensive coordinator at a college to, your first year in the NFL. Now you're the head coach with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. I like Jesse Minter as a head coach prospect. I don't know how much I like it for the Baltimore Ravens specifically. I think that a Stefanski, Mike McDaniel would have been a more appealing option just with how explosive their offense is. But I don't know. What do you think, Fish?
Yeah, I think they hired a younger John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like I get Baltimore is a franchise that is built on defense. They won that Super Bowl years ago. It was like '01 or whatever it was, early 2000s, based on their defense. Trent Dilfer was their quarterback. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's a franchise that's built on defense, so I understand it from an organizational standpoint. What I don't understand it is from a personnel standpoint. When you have Lamar, you have King Henry, you have Zay Flowers, you have Rashad Bateman, shout out Minnesota. You, I would have much rather see them bring in a guy like McDaniel or Stefanski, just like you mentioned, and that's what I was going to bring up, to get that offense rolling. Get Lamar happy. Get Lamar having fun again. Like
Absolutely.
I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know who they're going to bring in for an OC yet, but yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. Jesse Minter, great guy. I don't think it's the right fit.
I I totally agree, man. Yeah, you said it so well. They just traded Harbaugh in for the newer model. It feels like, and who knows? Like working under his brother Jim Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh knows both sides of the ball really, really well. Maybe Jesse Minter knows the offensive side of the ball more than we're giving him credit for. But I feel like we just don't know who he is as a head coach compared to some of the other names that were out there. And then okay, so and we can keep coming back to the Ravens if we've got more on this, but I feel the same way about Jeff Hafley to the Dolphins, where I don't really know a whole lot about Jeff Hafley, but you go from Mike McDaniel, maybe not the best leader or the most charismatic guy. I think that was some of the criticism they had of McDaniel in Miami. But Jeff Hafley, like defensive coordinator for the Packers, I mean, you could make the argument that he was a Micah Parsons merchant where his defense looks really, really good, after that trade. And then once Micah Parsons got injured, the defense didn't look very good. I mean, it looked okay, but they didn't do anything special. What do you think about Jeff Hafley to the Dolphins?
Yeah, so I probably should know more about Jeff Hafley, being that I'm a Vikings fan and he's in our division. I couldn't pick him out of a two-person lineup. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who that dude is from Adam. But what you said was absolutely right, is Green Bay's defense hasn't been all that great. They've been good. But yeah, without Micah Parsons, who's arguably, when he's healthy, probably one of the best players on the planet.
Yeah.
Either side of the ball. So yeah, when Parsons goes down, their defense kind of slides a little bit. I know he's older than McDaniel, so maybe he's got, the little bit of gray hairs gives him a little bit more respect in that locker room. But if I'm Miami, like that's got to be a destination spot for free agents, for your draft picks. You gotta have people in the building that make it a desirable place to be. You got to have these players wanting to go to Miami. I want to go to Miami. I want to win a championship. I don't feel like you get that with a Jeff Hafley.
I totally agree with that. And Mike McDaniel is looking pretty sweet right now too, right? Like he gets fired from the Dolphins. He took a lot of scrutiny, which my opinion is I think Tua is is a bottom half quarterback in the NFL. I'm not a big believer in Tua. Plus he's honestly, for his own health, he probably shouldn't even be playing football, dude. Like after
right.
After the second or third concussion, I was like the humane thing to do, it's like force him to retire, or you got to bench him. You can't play him anymore. So McDaniel got a lot of the blame for the failures in Miami when Tua is a lousy quarterback. Tyreek's foot, turned completely around. Now he finds himself in LA. That's like so badass too. You go from in Miami to LA, like he's just doing it right.
I want his life, man.
He is living the life. He gets to bring the gold watch and sunglasses with him, and a lot of those
Justin Herbert.
Oh my gosh, you got Justin Herbert to work with. You got a really young team, and then his criticisms, his weaknesses as a head coach were not a leader of men, couldn't rally the guys, not the most charismatic. Now you get to learn under Jim Harbaugh, who like that's his bread and butter. You don't think so?
He's got that taken care of. Yeah. No, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like Harbaugh's going to do all that. You just got to worry about being that offensive genius that you are.
Totally.
I think he's going to flourish in there. I think he was meant to be an offensive coordinator.
I think so too. And you know what? And we'll get to this in a second here, but Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniel they're good buddies. They're like, I guess I was reading online, they're like really close friends. And so I really got my hopes up that they were going to bring McDaniel in for the Titans offensive coordinator role for the exact reason that you said. I mean, he could be the best offensive coordinator in the NFL and just stay there.
Right.
So yeah. Okay. So cover that. We got Minter to the Ravens, Jeff Hafley to the Dolphins, 2 defensive coordinators. I want to go into 3 hires that I think were just home runs for the situations that they got hired for. And let's start with the one that I actually think is the best hire is Kevin Stefanski to the Falcons. I love it, man. I absolutely love it. I think that from an offensive standpoint, Stefanski could do to the Falcons what KOC did to the Vikings to a certain degree, where he would tailor the offense to their skill set rather than, Raheem Morris, what he's done the last couple of years has, not worked, and Arthur Smith before him, where they try to make this offense and make it more schematic and X's and O's and have their players fit their game plan rather than tailoring the game plan to the talent that they have. They could have one of the, they got to figure out the quarterback position a little bit, but it's not like you have a bad option.
Yeah.
If Michael Penix is healthy, he looks okay, and Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. He's going to at least be able to execute a game plan. You get nervous come playoff time, but then you've got Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, like some of the best skill players in the NFL. I absolutely love Kevin Stefanski to the Falcons, and the sweetener on top of it is Kevin Stefanski and Baker Mayfield had some beef on Twitter this week. Did you catch this?
I did see that. I did see that.
That might have been today or yesterday. I can't remember, but Baker was chirping Stefanski, saying like, you threw me out like a piece of garbage. And I absolutely love now that Baker has to play against his old coach twice a year. That's going to be so sick to see.
Right. Yeah, Stefanski was handed a pile of garbage in Cleveland. And he was the 2-time coach of the year. Like, what? I don't understand. Like, if you're Cleveland, what more do you want? What more can you even ask for being in the position that you're in, getting rid of Stefanski? Stefanski, he was in Minnesota for forever. Like, he spent like 14 years coming up through the system in the Vikings. So I love Stefanski. I wish we still had him. I'm happy for him that he got another job in Atlanta. And yeah, they give you the keys to that offense, just like you said. You got Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Bijan Robinson, who's going to be the next CMC. He can run, catch, probably throw the ball. Like, that should be, you run your whole offense through them, and then the defense just has to hold up.
100%, dude. It's a slam dunk hire for the Falcons. If I was a Falcons fan, I'd be absolutely over the moon about this. And I, last week in my rankings, I had, in terms of available jobs, I had the Ravens number 1, which we talked about that. I don't know how well they're going to fare with their new head coach. We'll see. I think they're going to do bad, but just a big question mark. And then number 2, the Falcons. That easily takes the cake, in my opinion, for the best hire of the coaching cycle that we've seen so far. And also another note here, I'm trying to remember all the names. I saw McDaniel, Saleh, Halfley, and there was somebody else who I saw today. I can't remember. Maybe it was Jesse Minter. All canceled their interviews with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, that's crazy. You had, number 1 or number 2 most desirable head coach in this cycle leaving easily the least desirable job in the NFL. The Browns, man, you set yourself back years. Not good.
Yeah, I haven't even heard rumors of who's even interviewing there.
Who is? Have you heard anything about the Browns, the Raiders, or the Cardinals having a serious head coaching candidate? I haven't heard anything.
No. I haven't heard anybody interviewing with either of those teams.
I mean, I kind of said,
saying something.
I kind of said that last week. I said those were like 3 out of the 4 of my least favorite jobs. Actually, I had Raiders, Dolphins, Browns, and Cardinals in the 6, 7, 8, and 9 in terms of available jobs, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then also Pittsburgh too. That's another one. Pittsburgh. I've heard rumors that Mike McCarthy might be going there. Originally, it was your boy Brian Flores was rumored to go to Pittsburgh, but he just signed an extension today with Minnesota, which you got to be happy.
There's a clause. Yep, I did see that. So Minnesota signs B-Flow to the extension, which everybody wanted. Everybody in Minnesota loves B-Flow, and if you let B-Flow walk out of the door, you did something wrong.
Yeah.
So he signs the extension. The caveat is he can get out of the new contract if he's offered a head coach position.
Interesting.
So he can't go anywhere. He can't go anywhere else and be their D coordinator, which he had a couple interviews as a D coordinator. But he can leave if he gets a head coach offer.
That
And
dude,
so that you bring up Cleveland, which kind of scares me, is because B-Flow might be a little desperate to like prove himself again as a head coach. And Cleveland's certainly desperate to get a head coach. And shoot, you pair B-Flow with Myles Garrett. E.
that could
E.
be
That
dangerous.
defense would be for real.
That
But let's keep B-Flow in Minnesota.
dude, 100%. Like I would have been stoked as a Titans fan, as one of these teams that needed a head coach. If we hired Brian Flores as head coach, I would have been pumped. And it is funny you say that hiring the one coach in the NFL who has an active lawsuit against the NFL would be like the most Cleveland Browns move of all time.
It makes sense. It's a very Cleveland thing to do.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so Stefanski to the Falcons, we're in agreement. That's a slam dunk hire. John Harbaugh to the Giants. You know, I think the Giants, and I talked about this last week ad nauseum, that I think the Giants on paper, I understand the excitement about the Giants. You're playing in New York. There's, big market. You've got a ton of promise from Jackson Dart. I still think, he could be like a CJ Stroud and maybe show some regression. I mean, I don't know. He still has a lot to prove. But like your two biggest offensive weapons being Cam Scattaboo and Malik Neighbors both had really catastrophic season-ending injuries. So like that's kind of up in the air. If anything, though, like as a Giants fan, you got to just be absolutely stoked to have stability and leadership finally. Um,
Yeah.
they had Dayball in the house, who he's a great leader and he's like an alpha male type coach, but he doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the resume of John Harbaugh. So, and I'm trying to think, I don't know anything about the Giants defense, because I feel like that's where Harbaugh's probably going to
They,
focus. They got a good defense.
their defense is better than their offense. They got that Brian Burns, Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter had a little bit of character issues, showing up to meetings late and things like that. But if anybody's going to get that corrected, it's going to be John Harbaugh.
Great point.
So their defense is solid. Yeah, the offense is more of the question mark with Scattaboo coming back from the injury, Malik Neighbors coming back from the injury. Malik Neighbors, before injury, he was projecting to be top 5 wide receiver in the league. So hopefully he can come back and we can see some exciting plays from him. And then you got Jackson Dart, who's kind of a wild card. He can look really good at times. He can look very mediocre at times. And one thing is you're going to get it. It's a lot like Baker Mayfield. You're going to get everything he has on the field. Every given Sunday, he's going to put everything out there for the team. So you got to love that. You got to love having a quarterback like that. But at the same time, like, maybe take a slide once in a while.
Yeah, dude. I feel like I saw Jackson Dart get like scorpion and had his feet above his head several times this year. And I don't know. I watched a little bit of Jackson Dart. I've watched some highlights of him recently, and like, yeah, I understand why Giants fans are excited. But again, I live in the Twitter world, and I just see Giants fans, like when they're talking about how excited they are about Jackson Dart, they post more highlights of him dancing than they do him playing football. Like I think New York Giants fans are just pumped to have someone with like a little bit of flavor and some energy and youth in that town. And
Yeah,
going from whatever Eli Manning, if you're a lifelong Giants fan, you watch Eli Manning your whole career. Now you got Jackson Dart. I can understand the appeal of that for sure. So um,
absolutely.
I think the Giants will be interesting. I had them ranked fourth, 4 out of 9 on my big board last week, just because, yeah, the injuries that we talked about, those are significant. I think Malik Neighbors. I agree with you. I even said this before the season, before the injury, that in my opinion, and this was before we knew how good Jackson Smith and Jigbo was going to be, and a couple other guys, but I thought you've got this tier of wide receiver in the NFL with Justin Jefferson, in my opinion, easily the best. I'm not just saying that. I've been consistent with that. Easily the best wide receiver in the NFL, might be the best overall player in the NFL. Jamar Chase, just a short step behind him. And I think Malik Neighbors could be right there with those guys. And then it feels like everybody else in the rest of the league, again, JSN climbed that ladder into that, right up there with those guys. But who knows? It could go that way, or he could be like Josh Gordon and never really bounce back. So we'll be. I'll be
God,
really
love me
intrigued to
some
see that.
old school Josh Gordon highlights.
Oh my gosh, what a banger that guy was.
2012 Josh Gordon, get out of town.
Josh Gordon, we're doing it right now, kind of, but Josh Gordon is one of those guys, like when you get together with your boys and you just start naming old players, like that's a top tier reference is Josh Gordon.
Just put down the pipe for 1 year, man, and let's go.
Stay off the weed. Golly. All right. So John Harbaugh to the Giants, they're going to improve. I I don't know. We'll see. That's a very interesting fit with a lot of unknowns there. And then the
Yeah.
next one, obviously, the one that I'm building up to, and the one I'm most excited about is Mr. Robert Saleh, Bob Saleh to the Titans. From my standpoint, I love this hire. I really love this hire, but there's a but next to it. And I'm going to get to that. So what I love about Robert Saleh is number one, the number one thing that the Titans struggled with this last year was culture and identity. You're not going to have that problem with Saleh as your coach. I mean, he's all about culture. He's all about intensity, competitiveness. I mean, he's going to bring that. And working with Jeffrey Simmons, who, in my opinion, is the best defensive tackle in the NFL. First team All Pro this year, absolute stud, and he's training with Tavondre Sweat now. And our defense sucked. Outside of Jeffrey Simmons, really. So having Robert Saleh come in, that's phenomenal just from an attitude, defensive perspective. But number two, I love that we've got a coach from the Shanahan tree now. All the connections that he has from his time with the Jets, his time with San Francisco. I mean, I'm absolutely pumped, and I'm really excited to see who he brings in. I thought we were going to get Mike McDaniel because they're boys. Obviously, you can't blame him. That's a better job in LA. But now the name that's on everybody's list is Brian Daboll. And there was a report, I'm not making this stuff up. This is from Diana Rossini. She, is very, very, legit reporter who covers the entire NFL. She reported that if Brian Daboll doesn't get the Bills head coaching job, which we can get to that here in a second too, that he's going to sign with the Tennessee Titans, which is it's insane to me because when that report came out, the Bucs needed an offensive coordinator, the Eagles needed an offensive coordinator, and Diana Rossini is reporting that he's most interested in the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator role. That being said, I think he probably is going to sign with the Bills as a head coach. I think if you have the opportunity to be, you're an offensive minded coach and you have the opportunity to coach Josh Allen, that's easily the more appealing role. But they could hire Joe Brady. I don't know. The Bills are in a little bit of hot water right now too. So, some crazy stuff happened today with that as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the Bills are okay. So I'm going to serve it up to you. Sell me on the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator position.
Yeah. So first of all, and this is the most obvious one, you've got Cam Ward, who is number one overall pick. If you are just a stat watcher, you might think that Cam Ward is not a very good quarterback or Will Levis 2.0, which I could see that from a stats standpoint. They had very similar rookie seasons. Cam Ward, though, I have watched breakdowns from Dan Orlovsky, John Gruden. Dude, I've spent hours and hours and hours. I have watched some of these throws that Cam Ward makes. There's a couple of throws, like there's the throw against the Rams, his first touchdown pass where he threw across his body into the end zone. Like he makes some of these throws that when you see it, it's undeniable. And he looks, I don't want to compare him to any other players because that's where I get too ahead of myself and get too excited. But he makes throws that are Mahomes, Caleb Williams-esque that are like, how the hell did this guy even do this? So I have a lot of faith and a lot of confidence in Cam Ward. I think also reinforcing that, Brian Daboll saying that he would prefer the Tennessee job over the Eagles job. Is he kind of saying Cam Ward has more promise and more upside potential than Jalen Hurts? Not that Jalen Hurts that Cam Ward is a better quarterback right now, but we know what Jalen Hurts' ceiling is. It's, he's a phenomenal game manager and a good leader on that team, but he doesn't have the arm talent that Cam Ward has. So you've got that. You've got Peter Skronsky, who was one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL, and he needs some help because we have a terrible O-line, but that's because the Callahans, the Bin Laden family came in and ruined my offensive line. And then you have the second most cap space in the NFL. I've seen conflicting reports. I don't even know how the cap works. So I'm not going to pretend that I do, but
Nobody does.
Nobody does. They're either the number one or the number two most cap space in the NFL. So you've got a lot of money to spend, and you've got players to deal. You've got Tony Pollard, you got Calvin Ridley, you've got L'Jarius Sneed. You got to get rid of all of those guys. I mean, that was a failed experiment. See ya. Goodbye. You could trade that for some lower round draft picks, I think, or maybe some other veteran players. You've got Alec Ayomaner, who is a rookie for us, going to go into his second season. He showed a lot of promise at wide receiver. And then you've got Chimere Dike, who he broke the rookie record for all-purpose yards this year in the NFL. Nobody's really talking about that. He's already one of the best return men in the NFL, and he showed a lot of promise as a wide receiver as well. So you combine that also with maybe Robert Saleh being able to recruit some of his former players, not talking about Brandon Ayuk, maybe looking at more of like a Breece Hall. You get Breece Hall in there, you've got the number 4 overall pick, you've got the first or second most cap space in the entire NFL. You got players you can trade for draft picks. What am I missing? Am I delusional?
Okay. No, you convinced me.
All right.
Fair enough. Let's tighten up, baby.
Let's tighten up, son. Oh, for the record here, and I'm going to have Zach back on the show for sure. You might see us bounce back and forth because me and Zach, we are fans of cursed franchises. We're also big Chargers fans when our teams aren't doing very well. So I think we've got those floating around there. You might see that pop up in the future, but yeah. I thought that was really interesting that Brian Daboll's reported to want to go to the Titans. Dude, if that happened, I'd be over the moon. We literally went from looking like it was going to be Matt Nagy as our head coach to getting Robert Saleh and Daboll. That would be that'd be quite the 180. So, but what do you think about? Am I even delusional for thinking that Brian Daboll is going to come to Tennessee? Is he just going to get the Bills job?
I don't know if it's interesting that he's even taking the interview with the Bills in the first place. He kind of left there and kind of had that failed experiment with the Giants. So I'm not sure exactly what Bills ownership is thinking. And also, if I'm Brian Daboll and I hear comments like the Bills owner just made, just throwing everybody under the bus besides himself, why would I even want to go there? You know what I mean? Like, I want to go to somebody or a team where I'm going to be supported by ownership, not a team where if a bad decision was made, and bad decisions are going to be made because we're all human, that I'm going to get thrown under the bus and so the ownership can look better than freaking Sean McDermott, who was the best coach you've had there in ever, probably.
Ever. Sean McDermott has a record of 98-50 as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. So if you're Brian Daboll and you see that job, you go, okay, so I could go 98-50, have like an incredible win-loss record, make it to the playoffs every year and still get fired. That's kind of a red flag.
So my expectation first year is Super Bowl? What are we talking about?
Well, and then...
Well, yeah. So Sean McDermott should be on everybody's board.
I haven't heard Sean McDermott interviewing anywhere either, too. Like, I know Tomlin said he's going to take the year off, so he's out of the picture. Outside of... I mean, Sean McDermott is clearly the best head coaching option. You kind of look like Sean McDermott now that we're talking about this. But you got a little Sean McDermott.
Yeah, I need like a puffy coat.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't heard Sean McDermott interviewing anywhere either, too. So who knows where he's going to end up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, he probably. If I was him, I'd take a year off too.
Hell yeah!
Just freaking recharge.
Absolutely.
And reflect. Like, what more can you do? You got the team to the playoffs in 9 years in a row or something ridiculous.
Crazy. And poor Keon Coleman. Keon, come to the Titans. Come
Right.
on. Come on over, dude. That I feel so bad for him, dude. You had what's his face? Bean is Bean or Beanie, however you pronounce the GM name.
Bean,
Bean, yeah, dude, him throwing or trying to throw Sean McDermott under the bus for drafting Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman's 22 years old. You know, like he could still be a decent player or like a role player in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be a star, but he's a second round pick. He's 22 years old, and you're saying like basically this is the reason why we fired McDermott is because he wanted to draft Keon Coleman. Poor kid, man. That like I would pack my bags if I were him.
yeah. Like how awkward is it showing up to the building tomorrow? Like, oh, hey guys, still here?
Yeah, like you're supposed to answer questions about, hey, why did the head coach get fired and why did the GM keep his job? Well, because he hired dipshit over here. It's like, well, dude, he's still employed by you. Doesn't make any sense. That's really
I
interesting.
respect it. You got a quarterback like Josh Allen. You got to try to get any sort of weapons you can around him, and he has pretty much done it with nobody. He had Diggs for a while, and Diggs was solid.
Yep.
But after that, like, what are we talking? Emmanuel Sanders, Khalil Shakir. What are we talking about?
Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis, yeah. The
Yeah,
skeletal
Brandon
remains of
Cooks.
Brandon Cooks.
Oh my
What are we? And he's out here just winning games. Come on,
dude. Yeah, that's a pitiful wide receiver core. I totally agree with you. Like they had a good thing with Diggs and then they lost him, and the Bills haven't been able to put any weapons around Josh Allen since then. It's been terrible. Yeah, Gabe Davis, he's the one guy who'll have 175 yards and 2 touchdowns one game and then 1 reception for 9 yards the next game. Like you can't win with that. So, well, we'll keep monitoring the situation. This is easily the most exciting head coaching carousel that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, I don't remember the last time when I did the show last week, there were 9 openings. Since then, obviously McDermott got fired and a lot has happened. So, a third of the league is going to have a new head coach next year. And half of these teams haven't even selected their new head coach. So that'll be really exciting. We'll keep monitoring that and keep talking about that. But I want to know, Fish, what's looking at conference championships on Sunday. Obviously Bo Nix getting injured. Dude, that was such a bummer. We watched that game with my boy who's a big Broncos fan. We went and saw the Broncos play the Titans play in Mile High first week of the season, and so I've been kind of a proxy Broncos fan for that reason. And dude, it was so electric. That's one of the best games of the entire year. By the way, was the Broncos and the Bills. It sucks because we had about 45 minutes of celebrating and stress-free football before Sean Payton goes on the stand and talks about Bo Nix. Oh, gut-wrenching, man. So that sucks. I'm looking at the lines right now. New England is a 4.5-point favorite against the Broncos. Don't sleep on Mile High either, too. That's a hard place to play. And then you've got Seattle's a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Rams. How do you see these 2 games shaking out? Who you like in these games?
Yeah. Give me New England. I was about to say Denver, but give me New England. I can't stand Sean Payton. I
Really?
just can't stand the guy. Oh, he's just a douche. Pardon the language, but golly, I hate that guy. That goes back to being a Vikings fan and the history there with the Saints. So I won't bore you with that, but I do root for the Mike Vrabel, I can't even say it. Vrabel-led New England Patriots. Let's go, baby. Let's go. That defense is for real. Just like Vrabel always does. He's got them boys cooking. And with like a lot of people counting Denver out automatically without Bo Nix, like their defense is what kept them in games up to this point anyways.
Yeah.
Jared Stidham just has to go out there and hand the ball off to RJ Harvey, do a few dump passes to Cortland Sutton, keep the offense trickling down the field, and the defense is going to hold up. So could I see Denver winning? Absolutely. Jared Stidham does not have to be a hero. But It is tough. And that New England defense is for real. So that's why I'm going to go with New England.
I totally respect that pick. I'm going to be aggressively rooting against the Patriots, just because I can't. I don't think my heart can handle seeing Mike Vrabel in a Super Bowl with the Patriots when Amy Adams Shrunk, who I've encouraged to please sell the team, please Amy sell the team. You're not going to hear this, but if you do, please sell the team. That her justification, it was her decision to fire Mike Vrabel, and it was because she wanted to hire a head coach who'd give us a better chance at winning a Super Bowl. I can't handle it. I can't handle it. Vrabel there. It literally is. It's
I
like,
didn't age well.
no, didn't age well at all. And the Patriots in the Super Bowl is like having to watch your ex-girlfriend with her new boyfriend on national TV. Like it's just something I can't do. Um, so I'm going to be aggressively rooting against the Patriots. They're probably going to win. I like the Broncos to cover just because that defense at home is insane. Patrick Surtain is healthy. Nick Benito's healthy. Yeah, and just like you said, Sean Payton's offense, he throws a lot of dump passes and a lot of screens anyway. Jared Stidham, I heard on another podcast this week that one of the first signings that Sean Payton did when he got the job in Denver was to sign Jared Stidham, and he brought him back for another year. He hasn't played it, hasn't had a snap in over 2 years, which is unfortunate, but Sean Payton believes in him, and that's Sean Payton's first choice for a backup quarterback. Obviously, you want your starting quarterback in the AFC Championship game, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Broncos pulled it off. It would be a huge bummer for the Super Bowl because you'd want to see, the AFC contender at full strength. But at the same time, I would not be surprised if the Broncos pulled it off at home.
Right. But the going back to the Bills and why Sean McDermott got fired, they got robbed of that game.
You think so?
I know so.
I don't think so.
That was a catch.
No.
The skeletal remains of Brandon Cooks. That was a catch. How can you have control of the ball, come down to the ground, knee on the ground, roll over, it gets ripped out of your hands as you're rolling over, and they call it an interception? No.
I agree with you from a logic standpoint that it really looked like a catch. And if you and I made the rules, it would be a catch. It's the Des Bryant rule, the Calvin Johnson rule, where you have to catch the ball and you have to complete it all the way through. Same thing as if he caught that ball, went to the ground, and there was no defender in sight, and he gets the ball, secures it on the ground, and then the ball pops out at the last minute, it'd be ruled an incompletion, right? You got to catch the ball all the way through. So logically, and you see some of these screenshots where it's like he's got clear possession of the ball and it really looked like a catch in real time. That's not how the NFL officiates a catch, though. It's not their definition, unfortunately.
But what about simultaneous possession then? Wouldn't that have had to happen?
But
and isn't that ruled to the offense?
If they had simultaneous possession, though, the defender ended up with the ball. Unless you're saying he was down.
He would have been down because he was being touched with his knee down. That's why I think that was a catch. Buffalo should have won. Sean McDermott would still be the head coach, and they'd be preparing to beat Vrabel's Patriots.
I do like Sean McDermott and the Bills a lot more. Sean McDermott and Josh Allen and the Bills a lot more than Jared Stidham and the Broncos to beat the Patriots. I tell you that much. That's for sure. But then, okay, and then the next game, Seahawks and Rams. This is a coin flip for me. I really have no clue what's going to happen in this game. 2.5 points for Seattle. I think that's kind of rat poison a little bit. I don't
think it's that close. Seattle loses.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. If I were to make an official prediction, I think Matt Stafford and the Rams go to Seattle and put on a show, and Puka Nacua goes off. Devontae Adams has 2 touchdown catches for 17 yards, and Sam Darnold turns back into a pumpkin.
That's what I'm hoping for.
What do you think? You've watched a lot of Sam Darnold. He looked pretty good last year as a Vikings fan.
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, if the game is close, Sam Darnold is not going to win that game for you. If Seattle's going to win, they're going to have to play or it's going to have to be a game like it was against the Niners last week, where they just blow them out from the start. The game was over after that first initial kickoff.
Yeah.
They returned it for a touchdown. San Francisco only put up 6 points the rest of the game. The game was over. And Sam Darnold didn't have to do anything. He just had to hand it off to, Charbonnet's hurt now.
Yep.
I don't know if he's actually going to be playing.
No, he's out for the season.
He's out for the year. Okay. They still got Kenneth Walker. And then he was 12 for 17 for 124 yards. But yeah, solid game. He can do that when your defense is winning the game for you.
Yeah.
If it gets down to the fourth quarter and Sam Darnold has to lead a drive to go win the game, he's not going to do it. It was just like Kirk Cousins. I've seen this movie before. It's not going to happen. He's not the one.
I agree.
With that being said, unless Seattle absolutely blows them out from the start to finish with their defense, I see the Rams winning this game. I put my trust in Matthew Stafford.
I see the same way. I feel like a Patriots-Rams Super Bowl is inevitable. This game is so hard because the Seahawks have looked so good, and I did not expect them to blow out San Francisco like they did. I mean, that was really impressive. And you're going to Seattle, one of, if not the best fan bases, most loud fan bases in the NFL, the 12th man. So, I mean, golly, man, and you got a new coach in Mike McDonald. I think Sean McVay. I saw this stat the other day too, that now with all these coach firings with Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, and Tomlin being gone, I think I read that Sean McVay has the longest tenure with one team of any coach in the NFL, which is crazy to think about.
That's great. And is he even 40 yet?
No, I don't think he's even 40. I think he's like late 30s. I think he's like 38 or something. Like,
that's unreal.
He's only been with the Rams. He's been with the Rams, what, 8-9 years now, something like that. They hired him when he was 30, which is crazy. But yeah, like he's the vet. He's the seasoned vet in the room. He's got a Super Bowl under him with this team, with Matthew Stafford, and they've gotten this team. This offense is better than the offense he had when they won the Super Bowl. You could argue, they've got more weapons. So I really like the Rams in this game, and maybe like a 13-10 battle or something like that,
Oh, yeah. I would say a little bit higher scoring than that, maybe 24-13, something like that. I think you got to score in the 20s to win this game. But yeah, like you said, the Rams, they know how to play Sam Darnold. Just look at the tape last year of the Rams against the Vikings. Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts out there. So good luck to him. But yeah, I think it's going to be the Rams.
I like it. I'm going to go low scores. I'm going to put my official prediction, and I'm just going to say screw it and mix it up here a little bit. I'm going to say 17-10 Denver. And then I'm going to say, let's see here. What do I think for the Rams? Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with what I said. I'm going to say 13-10 LA.
13-10.
13-10. Wow.
Now do I have to predict scores?
You have to predict scores.
I'll say Patriots 31, Denver 13.
Whew.
I'll say LA Rams. Let's go 27, Seattle 17.
I like it. But 31 points against the Broncos defense in Mile High that's a bold take, brother.
Let's do it. Go big or go home.
Well, we spent a ton of time talking about the NFL, and we talked a lot about coaching hires there. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about possibly the greatest hire of any organization, any person in human history. with Curt Cignetti. This past week on Monday night, won his first national championship, maybe first of many. If you Google Curt Cignetti right now, Google has a little headline on there where it just says, "Yep, he won." I love that. I love that they did that, and they're embracing the Google me comment. So you're a fan of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I'm a Nebraska Cornhusker fan. We're in the Big Ten. A lot of Big Ten fans, at least I've heard a lot of Big Ten fans personally in my life, not even on the internet, rooting against Curt Cignetti and accusing him of cheating and this and that. And I think if you watched the college football playoff and watched the way that these boys played, he's got to be undeniable now. Like the greatest hire of any organization of all time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's unexplainable what he just did. It's unexplainable. I don't think we'll ever see that again in our lifetimes. Indiana was the losingest program in college football history. 2 years and they're a national champion. Get out of town. Like, I can't prove it. I don't want to call the guy a cheater, but something is going on there and it needs to be studied. there is no logic or explanation behind it other than he's a really good coach, kids buy in, and what he's doing is probably going to be what every college football team tries to emulate moving forward.
Absolutely. And granted, their average age of their team, I think they were only 2 years younger on average than the Green Bay Packers. So they've got old guys, experienced guys on their roster.
And I think that was the strategy, was getting older, from the portal.
Well, I came across a funny list of the greatest hires in human history. And I have to read this to you. So at number 6, we've got Genghis Khan for the Mongol Empire. At number 5,
he was brought him in. They interviewed him.
At number 5, we've got FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, the United States president. Number 4, we've got Winston Churchill for the United Kingdom, prime minister. Number 3, Edwin Stanton, U.S. Secretary of War, 1862. Don't know who that is. Claudio Ranieri at number 2 is Leicester City, something. I don't know who that is. Probably a soccer. I don't follow soccer.
Oh, yeah, the soccer team.
And then number 1 overall, greatest hire in U.S. history is Curt Cignetti at Indiana. When you're just comparing Curt Cignetti to Genghis Khan, I mean, that's like the funniest thing I've ever seen. I mean, you've got on here number 21 on the list, Steve Jobs for Apple, 27, George Washington, number 34, Bill Belichick, 35, Nick Saban, Vince Lombardi. I mean, you've got some crazy names on here on top of the list. Curt Cignetti. Kind of incredible.
Curt Cignetti. Unreal. And nobody had heard of this guy 3 or 4. Well, I guess before he took the James Madison job. So what was that, 4 or 5 years ago now? Nobody had heard of this guy.
Nobody had heard of him. It's insanity. Well, I mean, it's kind of crazy, man. And this will probably be the last topic that we go over. It's just like the state of college football is such a head scratcher. Like you and I were about the same age, or at the same age range. We grew up in the same eras. Like you and I are of the generation where like we're the last generation of like go outside and, parents don't keep track of when you come home type of kid without a smartphone. So back in the day, watching college football on a tube TV feels a lot different than it does in 2026, where, the Heisman Trophy used to mean something a little bit more. National championships felt like they used to mean something more. Bowl games especially used to feel like they meant something more. And ultimately, the goal was to get to the NFL and become a pro. Now it doesn't feel like that. It feels like there's players who don't even give a shit about ever even getting to the NFL. 2 examples that I want to bring up here really quick. Actually, 3 examples are, one, I talked a little bit last week about Dylan Raiola transferring to Oregon. After he announces he transfers, Dante Moore decides he's going to return to Oregon. And like it I almost can't look at him the same because like, you have the opportunity, bro, to be a top 5 overall pick in the NFL draft, and you're choosing to stay in college. I was before the NIL and everything, started happening in college football. I was the number one biggest advocate that players should have been paid. I listened to a JJ Redick podcast a long time ago where he talked about like University of Duke. I think they made over like $25 million or something like that in jersey sales with his name and his number on it, and he didn't see a penny of that because he was a superstar at Duke back in the day.
Yeah.
And that totally formed my opinion. Like there should be some sort of profit sharing. These players are responsible for driving tens of millions of dollars in revenue to these universities, sometimes individually. That being said, you've got a guy choosing to stay in college when you could be you could be playing for the New York Jets next year. You're choosing to play for the Oregon Ducks. Not a fan of that. And then the two other ones I wanted to bring up were Chambliss from Ole Miss is now suing. Do you see this? He's suing Ole Miss because they won't let him play a 6th year. Dude, it's a weak draft this year. It really is. Like Mendoza, he's going to be the number 1 overall pick, and I just think it's by default. Like he's a great player. He could be a really good system quarterback. You better hope that a Kyle Shanahan or a Sean McVay never get their hands on a guy like that because he can work a system. That being said, like I don't think he like blows your socks off. Like I think Cam Ward would win the Heisman, this year if he, if he Cam Ward probably would have won the Heisman, and Miami would have probably won the national championship if they had him at quarterback. That's a side conversation, but like my whole point is there's not a huge competition level in this year's draft coming up, and you're still having guys who don't want to enter the NFL draft. I saw Ty Simpson for Alabama. He declared for the NFL draft, and Miami offered him $6 million to stay in college. That's a problem. That's the NCAA not regulating anything and absolutely biting the hand that feeds them. Like, and I don't know, maybe college football and high school football, even we can get to this cool story here in a second, that maybe it's just going to become its own separate thing and it's not going to act as like the minor leagues for the NFL. Maybe Carson Beck, he said he was very upfront before the national championship that he graduated 2 years ago and he's not even a student at the university. Like he's just a professional football player at that point. What are you? What are we doing? So I'm totally eating my words here. I was all for paying players, and I still believe in that. I still believe some sort of profit sharing or some sort of equity program or something like that would be really appropriate with how much money is in college football. This ain't it. Not even close.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. Because I will say, by having these guys stay, I think it elevates the product on the field. So
Yeah.
we're on TV, we're watching a better product than what would be if these guys weren't staying and they were going out to the NFL.
Yeah.
So I get kind of torn between that. But if I'm like for Dante Moore's situation specifically, like I'm projected to be top 5, probably top 2 pick. You have to go.
You have to go.
There's only downside if you come back to play college football.
Right?
You could get injured. You could have a bad year. You could. There's a million bad things that could happen. And the only upside is, I went from the 2nd pick overall to now I'm going to be the 1st pick. What are we talking about?
Doesn't make sense.
The risk is just not worth the reward in my eyes.
Well,
so
I wonder too how those decisions are made. Like that might be the number one thing I find the most interesting. Like what family members, mentors, and agents, what are they saying behind the scenes to these players to reinforce this and convince them that this is a good idea? And we're just talking about players not going to the NFL draft. We haven't even touched like the transfer portal. Do you have just these bottom feeder agents in these guys' ears saying, dude, you could go here and make this money, or don't go to the Jets. You can make $10 million at Oregon next year. And you're only looking at the moment, the here and now, and not looking at the big picture of your career and your potential as not only just as a football player, but as a as a role model and as a competitor, and you know what I mean, and as a figure, a public figure. I mean, no worse way to just absolutely sabotage your reputation than transferring multiple times or not taking an opportunity to be a top draft pick, in my opinion.
Right. And then, so then I guess to kind of play devil's advocate with the Dante Moore situation, I think he only played 20 games
Right.
total. But what does it matter? Like, I hear that argument. Yeah, he's got to get more games under his belt. What does it matter if you're going to be projected to be picked number 2? But then you get into the situation. Yeah, you're going to the Jets, a terrible franchise. You're going to just derail your career by having to spend the years there and not getting developed, and then you're just done.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. All I know is I think NIL and the profit sharing with the NCAA is good for the overall product of it. But yeah, like you said, it's leading to some questionable decisions being made.
Absolutely. And yeah, you bring up a really good point that getting more snaps is a good thing. Like we saw a guy, gosh, I can see his face. Trey Lance, was a good example of didn't play that many snaps and didn't go to a situation where he could get properly developed and whatnot. And so like we've seen that happen a bunch of times in the NFL, where guys don't shake out due to lack of experience. That being said, like maybe talking out of both sides of my mouth here, I thought the college football playoff was awesome this year, to be fair. Like super exciting, pretty competitive. Yeah, you have Indiana stealing the show with this storyline. It was amazing. And then Miami, a lot of people didn't want to see Miami or thought that Notre Dame should get in instead of them or, whatever. Like they were a 2-loss team. For them to make it to the national championship was pretty incredible. So I got to give them kudos as well. We just spent the last, little bit shitting on college players and glorifying Kurt Cignetti. Like that's not the full picture of college football. Like there are some really competitive teams. And to your point, Fish, there's a lot, the product of college football has been pretty exciting this year. I just don't know how it's not sustainable. I think that's what we're trying to say here. It's totally not sustainable, and donors are going to get exhausted. Teams are going to get exhausted. Agents, coaches, it's going to exhaust and wear everybody out if you just have these guys as 1-year mercenaries every single year.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, going back to that national championship game, Mendoza on that 4th down run.
Dude.
Well, that sold me right there. I was like, all right. I mean, I get it. You're a nerd. You're goofy. Yeah, I don't like the way that you talk, but golly, go out there and lead that team.
I love hearing Mendoza drop the hard F-bomb, the flippins left and right. He's, this is flipping awesome. Oh, I love it, man. He's so funny. But that 4th down play, I was laying in bed with my wife, and we're watching the game in our room, and I jumped out of bed. That was so electric, so exciting, and not only to convert, but dive in and take the hit like that. Oh, that was pretty special.
He took a lot of hits too.
He did. Miami was beating him up.
Yeah, those Miami edge rushers, they're for real. That Bane coming off the edge. Woo-wee.
Hey, buddy, now Titans got the number 4 overall pick. I've been hearing a lot of rumors. You got Bob Saleh in there. You got Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat down low in the middle. You could draft a Ruben Bain to protect you, give you some help on the edge. I don't hate that. I like that a lot, actually, if I'm being honest. So I liked watching. I was watching Ruben Bain specifically closely in that game, thinking, he could be a potential draft pick for us. So we'll see.
I was stud. I sent a text to one of my buddies. I'm like, this guy might be the next Khalil Mack.
Ooh, I like the way that sounds. I like that.
Throw that out there, put that on him. But then Miami gets the ball back with 3 or 4 minutes left, maybe. I don't know if there was I don't know how much time was left on the clock, but they got to do a game-winning drive. I was like, okay, here Carson Beck has a chance to prove everybody wrong, go down there, lead a game-winning drive to win it. And he just proved everybody right.
Oh, shout out.
He just proved everybody right, throws that ball. It's probably 10 yards underthrown. And then he walked off. Didn't shake anybody's hand after the game, just walked off. Like you just proved everybody thought what they thought about you after you left Georgia the way you did and went to Miami, and you just proved them right, man. You had an opportunity and you dropped it.
Yep. Shout out to the haters. The haters were right.
Internet trolls are right sometimes, I guess.
They're totally right. Yeah, that, and it was a bad pick too. Like in the moment, because he had a guy open. In the moment, I was like, oh, he took a shot. You can't hate on him. Like you got to take a shot last minute of the national championship. I rewatched that play, the next day, and I was like, he way underthrew that ball. And if he led his receiver, it could have been a touchdown pass. And this is a totally different conversation. Unfortunately,
Right.
It was kind of like, it reminded me of the. I was really big. I shouldn't keep reminding people how bad my predictions are, but I was really big on Drew Aller from Penn State before the season started.
Who?
Who? Drew? We were watching the Oregon game, and that went into overtime. And exact same scenario that you're talking about. You got a chance to prove everybody wrong. This is your time to shine. What does he do? Throws an interception. So that's Carson Beck being Carson Beck, and he's kind of old too. So I don't know where he's going to end up draft wise. Who's going to end up with Carson Beck? But I don't know how excited I am about him as an NFL prospect necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah, probably a late round guy. Sit on the bench behind somebody for a few years, and then either he figures it out or he's an insurance salesman.
He'd kill it. Live in Miami, make $1 million a year selling insurance, and that doesn't sound too bad.
Well, yeah, he probably doesn't have to work again with all the money he made in Miami.
Facts. That's 100% true. But then, so yeah, we got to bring this show in for a landing here, and I think that this is a good little segue, with us talking about the status of college football and some of the flaws that we have with the sport right now. And there's a ripple effect. We kind of covered the ripple effect that it may have for the NFL, where who knows the talent level. These guys are a little bit older. Who knows if these guys are even going to want to declare for the draft, or they declare too late and risk getting injured. Blah blah blah. On the flip side of that, being in Nebraska, living in Nebraska, and I'm sure you've heard the same thing. Living in Minnesota and living in Nebraska now long enough, like. You hear stories about these 4-star, 5-star high school athletes who transfer from school to school, and their parents will pack up and move them from Arizona to Texas to Florida to wherever they can to win. You never really ever hear that in high school football in the state of Nebraska, especially not in Millard Public Schools. It's kind of crazy. You alerted me to this story, Fish. I wasn't even aware that this story existed with the Taylor boy, and then the new wide receiver we just got today. What the hell's going on with the Millard South Patriots?
I don't understand it. I don't know how it's allowed. One, so you have this. It's a 2027 quarterback commit, Trey Taylor. He's committed to Nebraska. He's finishing his junior year in the state of Illinois. Then he's going to move to Lincoln, Nebraska this summer. And when school starts in the fall, he's going to attend Millard South, who is just a dominant high school football program here in Nebraska. And they've been accused of recruiting and cheating before. So This is nothing new to them. But the thing about it is, Lincoln is 50 miles from Millard South. Why are you moving to Lincoln to then commute every day to Millard South? And how is that? How are you allowed to open enroll just wherever? Where if I live probably 7 or 8 miles from Millard South. I don't think my kids, my oldest is 10 right now, but once he gets to high school age, like, if I were to just try to open enroll him to Millard South, I don't think they would even let him in.
Totally. No way.
So one, it's like, how are they funding this to bring these players in and live in Lincoln, and where are they living, and who's paying for the housing, and are their parents coming? Are their siblings coming? Are they just living in an apartment paid for by the University of Nebraska? I don't know how it all works. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but how does that work where you have a kid move from out of state and then just be able to go to high school wherever you want, the best high school in the state of Nebraska, And I think that's the new reality we're living, because I sent you that story yesterday. I was like, this is
Yeah.
just crazy. And then today I saw another story. There's a wide receiver from Texas doing the same exact thing. What is going on? So I'm like, is this something brand new that I'm just now seeing, or is this something that's been going on underneath the table for a while, and now it's everybody's more open about it? And if so, why are you more open about it?
No, this is brand new. I mean, this, like even I talked about Dylan Raiola earlier. Like he transferred to 3 different high schools, and his parents, packed up and moved him to. And I think Dayton, his younger brother, did the same thing. And I used to work for a football company where we did, we did big 7-on-7 football events in the off season. And you see guys like they say they're not recruiting. High school coaches from Texas are recruiting players from Arizona. Like this is something that happens in the bigger markets. It has never ever been something that has happened here. It's not something. I don't think it's something that has existed as being exposed. I think it's a brand new thing that we're dealing with here. And yeah, like you're coming from Texas and you're going to live in Lincoln, Nebraska, which love Nebraska, love the Huskers, but Lincoln is kind of a lousy town to live in the first place. I mean, it's not even close to as nice as Omaha. And you're telling me this kid comes from Texas and he's going to drive 50 minutes, an hour every single morning when it's raining and it's snowing, and that's not an exciting drive. It doesn't make any sense. It's absolutely insane. And I, again, like we talked about before, I don't know how sustainable that is. I don't know if it's a new trend that we're picking up on, but obviously Millard South has a carrot for these kids. Like if you saw Millard South signing day this last year, what did they have? They had like 9
They had like
different
11
schools.
D1 kids.
Yeah, 11 D1 kids signing individual offers. Their quarterback is going to Alabama. So maybe if you're a parent and you're like, hey, I can move my kid to play at the juggernaut, the by far. I mean, they're winning their games like 80-0 every week. I move my kid to this juggernaut of a school in the middle of nowhere, compared to where they came from. He's got the opportunity to sign with an Alabama or an Ole Miss or a Texas or a whoever, you name it, Ohio State. And it's going to all work out because I'm going to fork up the cash as a parent to move everybody there and pay for his bills and everything. And he's going to get me on the back end because he's going to get a big $6 million contract from whichever university he ends up at. I don't know.
It takes away from the beauty of high school sports, man.
It does.
I grew up in a small town up in Minnesota. And so, I mean, there was nothing better than Friday night suiting up with your boys and taking on the boys from the town over.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You're going to battle with the guys that you grew up in the neighborhood with.
Yep.
That their mom and dad, their brothers and sisters, everything about their lives, and you're going to battle with them. And now you're just bringing in these kids from out of state, blah blah blah, and it's just like nobody cares about Millard South as a school, as a program. They're just trying to get their name out there.
Yep.
So you kind of lose that sense of pride with community that you have with high school sports when you allow things like this to happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but maybe these schools need to just be in their like own division. Like Millard South should not be playing anybody else in the state of Nebraska. There's no high school in the state of Nebraska that can compete with them.
They should be like an AAU team, like a national team, right? That travels and plays other, massive schools in bigger markets. Cause I agree with you. I when I was in high school, I watched Millard South win a national championship, then Millard North, and I can't remember, and then Millard North won again. But like you play against these Millard schools within the school district, like it really meant something. It was such a big deal. Everybody got so hyped. I can only imagine, put myself in the Millard West, Millard North kids' shoes. Like that sucks. That's like, what's the point of even playing? And
Right.
you've got a lot of these like Gretna and Bennington and Elkhorn schools expanding and stuff now. And they want to they kind of play that game where they want to stay in between Class A and Class B, but some of these schools want to jump up to Class A and play with the big boys. It might turn you off too, as well, or make you think twice about it, because what's the point if, you got a sense of learned helplessness If you have to go play against Millard South, and that's who you're gonna have to beat out to win Class A state. So I'm with you. It totally takes the purity out of the game, and that is a huge negative ripple effect where, like college, it used to feel like it was a feeder program for the NFL. It doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like that is another type of professional athlete. And now the high school athletes are acting the way that college athletes used to act back in the day. And it's, kind of killed the purity of it. It's unfortunate for sure.
Yeah. And then like as a coach, how do you get buy-in? Because that's how these programs become successful, or it was the old model, where you have these youth programs where you get these kids in and you're weightlifting, you're playing some games, you're practicing, you're working all this way up. Like if I'm a freshman at Millard South, what's going to be the motivation for me to go along with this program, knowing once I get to my senior year and it's my time, oh, they're just going to bring somebody in from Texas. Yikes. Sorry, dude.
Yikes.
I don't know.
Big time. Well, we're in trouble with that, man. I think that's an evolving story that we'll, on this show, I'll keep a pulse on. We'll keep talking about it. And I mean, if you just had the first two, you got to imagine they've got more in the chamber that are about to come to fruition, and maybe other schools start doing it as well. But I don't know. Totally bizarre. Never thought that I'd see something like that here in Omaha, Nebraska. So
right. Craziness.
But yeah, that was a whole lot of football. My goodness, we covered NFL, college, high school, the works. There's some other stuff going on in the sports world, but I think I want to bring this thing here in for a landing. So super excited to watch the games this weekend. I know we gave some predictions, and maybe I was a little bit back and forth on who I think is going to win versus who I'm going to root is going to win. But I think those are coin flip games, for the conference championships this Sunday. And so, we'll be back next week to recap, all that, and maybe give a Super Bowl preview. Something I wanted to get to today, which I think we'll save for next week because we still got time, is predictions for like the awards and whatnot, MVP, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player, rookies, all that stuff. I don't want to rush that. I want to go through that, thoroughly. So that's something else you guys have to look forward to. But if there's any other topics you guys want to hear about, drop some comments, shoot some messages. If you know me personally, but if not, you can find me on social media, mainly on Twitter, Instagram, and whatnot. Let us know what you guys want to talk about. And please continue to share the show. It's always fun. I want to have more guests and do more things like this. Thank you so much, Zach, for your time and for joining us and giving us your Minnesota insight. I appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Good stuff. We'll be back. You'll see Zach again. First ever guest on Sports with Betz, and probably going to be the first ever recurring guest. So thank you guys for everything. I love you all. Let's watch some football, baby. Good night.